All right, getting those visuals coming in of the Prime Minister there, those visuals of the Prime Minister. The PM Modi, a short while back, received a rousing welcome in Doha from the Indian community. And at this point of time, the Prime Minister meeting many top leaders there. It has been a very successful trip of the Prime Minister there. He has had wonderful meetings with his Qatari counterpart and has discussed bilateral ties. You can see those visuals coming in right now of the Prime Minister holding bilateral talks. He had arrived in Qatar's capital, Doha, a short while back, and he has had meetings with his counterpart. He's also discussed ways to bolster ties between New Delhi and Doha. Now, a short while back, the Prime Minister had also posted on X that had many wonderful meetings with the Prime Minister there of Qatar. Our discussions revolved around ways to boost India-Qatar friendship. Let's go straight to Senior Executive Editor Abhishek Kapoor, who's joining us right now. Abhishek, if we take our viewers through what we are seeing on our screens, a very wonderful meeting, as PM Modi has put it, with his Qatari counterpart. And what's happening right now?
Well, so we are getting these pictures of the bilateral taking place. Earlier, we saw ceremonial reception being given to Prime Minister Modi. This is his second visit to Qatar. The first one was in 2016. And the fact that this is happening in the backdrop of good vibes coming in after 8 Indian naval veterans were released by Qatar without any conditions, and that really gives a fillip and depth to the kind of relationship that is there. And this is, remember, not just about Qatar. Prime Minister's visit to the Middle East is about India's strengthening of its presence, its geostrategic linkages, geopolitical linkages, and geoeconomic linkages with the larger region, which is energy rich. India's relationship with the Middle East stands on 3 legs, which is economy, energy, and expats. And taken together, Middle Eastern countries, the Indian diaspora present there is a strong one at about 5 million plus and 3 million plus in just UAE. And the kind of remittances they sent back is almost 1/3 of India's total remittances that it gets from its diaspora community around the world. And that gives the economic depth. Apart from that, the energy security element, the fact that Qatar happens to be our 3rd or 4th largest supplier of energy. And this seems like moving in a direction where after Qatar's release of 8 Indian naval veterans, the relationship might get that additional bonding, and that's some of which is reflected. The fact that Prime Minister met the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Al Thani, in Dubai just a month and a half back when Prime Minister was there to participate in the COP28. In fact, that not month and a half back, but about 3 months back. But then that really set the ball rolling for getting the veterans out of a death penalty first and then completely released from jail. So I think things looking good. India's Middle Eastern outreach, I think over the last 10 years, this will be one important legacy of Prime Minister to have strengthened India's presence in the Muslim world, in the Middle East, and so short of having taken out the sting out of OIC, was using off and on as a sting on Kashmir issues. So I think in that sense, it's a big diplomatic takeaway of Prime Minister Modi's 2-term legacy of last 10 years. But in the present, of course, Prime Minister capping, and the fact that he's capping his second term of foreign policy assignments with a visit to the Middle East, UAE and Qatar included, I think gives you an idea of the kind of personal engagement and personal involvement that the Prime Minister has had in focusing on this geography of the world. The fact that almost half a dozen plus nations from UAE to Saudi Arabia to Bahrain to Qatar to Oman to Afghanistan, all these nations have given their highest civilian honors to the Prime Minister, not Qatar, I believe, but this really gives you an idea of the kind of personal chemistry that exists between Prime Minister and the respective leaderships of these nations, translating into, of course, tailwinds for India's geostrategic, geopolitical and geoeconomic objectives. Also remember that Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, they're going to be integral to the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, which was conceptualized during the G20 summit in September this year. And so I think a lot of dialogue is going to happen, not just bilaterally, but apart from that, for the IMEC also. And given the fact that the region has faced instability because of the ongoing Israel-Hamas war, in that part of the Middle East, I think some dialogue there also. So an all-encompassing visit, an all-encompassing dialogue taking place as we speak between Prime Minister and Sheikh Al Thani of Qatar, and Prime Minister, of course, flies back later in the evening from Doha.